Hey guys, my name is Sarah, and today I want to take you through how you can use the REsimpli tools, specifically in the call recordings section, to manage your team well and make sure that you're getting the results that you want from their phone calls, listening in, doing call reviews, etc. Let's jump right in. So what we do with our team is have a one-on-one with each team member once a week. We put about an hour on the calendar where we can go through all the big picture stuff. How are things going? Where do you feel stuck, et cetera, and et cetera. We'll talk through closing deals, problem deals. We'll talk about commissions and projections. All this kind of communication with your team is super important, super helpful for them to understand what's going on, what's coming down the pipeline, and make sure that they feel they have an outlet to get the information and support that they need. But as a manager, these calls are even more important to be able to give feedback to your team. And this is going to empower you to make sure that your salespeople are sticking to the script, sticking on the messaging that you want to come across as they are representing your company. And lastly, really to find gaps. I would say most importantly, the reason to review calls is to find where the gaps are. If you're finding themes in introduction, if you're finding themes that it's weak of gathering property information, maybe rapport is low, maybe they're not good at overcoming objections or offer calls, et cetera, all of these things you can pinpoint and basically, fill the gap. Do training in a specific area to be able to move forward. The other thing that call recordings will do is to allow you to diagnose at an even higher level what the flow is of your business. We're going to jump into the REsimpli tools very shortly to show you exactly the metrics that we review with our salesperson, our acquisitions team member, to see, again, where are the gaps? Is it up front, we don't have enough offers coming in? Is it we're not taking enough people through an in-depth conversation? Is it we're not getting enough offers out the door, or we're making a lot of offers, but we're not getting enough contracts? As you're tracking things and seeing the KPIs flow and getting some volume of data, you can diagnose it. And from there, that's when once you can diagnose what the problem is, that's when jumping into these calls is super important to be able to fill the gap. You focus on offer calls or you focus on rapport. There's a lot of ways to use this information to help you strengthen the productivity of your team. All right, I am going to jump into these tools right now, showing you how we use the KPI metrics and the call recordings to work with our sales team. Okay, so what you would do to start things out, go into your marketing data KPIs and select marketing and select a 1 week view. All right, Monday through Sunday, or however you do yours, Friday through Mondays, and filter it down. You can create different filters, dates, suggested dates. You can select just a market if you're working multiple markets, and you can also select a specific user. So if I have a team meeting coming up with Joe, then I'm going to pull up only Joe's calls, only Joe's activity here, hit apply, and then we will see just his numbers, so that in our meeting, we're going to go through and say, hey, Joe, you had a total of 30 leads in the last week. 19 of those were considered qualified, and you had 9 appointments, you made 6 offers and 2 under contract. Overall, I think this is pretty decent, but I would say where there might be a bit of a gap here is 19 qualified leads only resulting in 9 actual appointments. That means 10 leads that were qualified. They were houses, they were sellers, it wasn't land, it wasn't, somebody selling their services. It's a pretty significant chunk. There's a pretty significant gap between qualified leads and total appointments. So what I would do is go through right here and pull up each of these campaigns and say, okay, Joe, what happened here on this property? You referred them into an agent. This one we made an offer, this one under contract. All right, this warm lead. How come they're a warm lead? What happened? Did you set an appointment with them? Why not? And then from within this, you can click into the lead. It nicely opens a new tab for you. And you could scroll down and listen to that appointment call and hear, okay, yeah, right out the gate, you'll be able to train and coach this team member how they could have have made this phone call into an appointment. So this is what we do. We just go straight down the list, take a look at all of these leads, make sure if any of these really needed follow-up that was outside of the normal. Maybe they need another voice. Maybe they need a manager call. Anything that we could do to turn somebody or anything we can do to advance somebody in the pipeline, we will discuss. And you can do that in any of the categories, whether it's all the leads together, or let's just look at what we got under contract this week and, talk about what went well or whatever things you may feel can be beneficial for your team. Maybe you're going to pull some of these call recordings and put them in your training folder for onboarding another team member at a later time. A lot of ways you can use this information. These are just a few examples that we do. But now let's jump into the other aspect of managing your team. It's not just looking at their numbers, but it is hugely, let's talk about the other ways that you can manage your team. It's not just looking at numbers. Huge part of it is looking at the conversations they're having and hearing to make sure that they're sticking to the script. They're getting the information that they need and continuing to hone their skills as a salesperson. We all know that scripts can be helpful. We also all know that scripts aren't perfect, and we want to empower our salespeople to have strong conversations, even if that means going off script, that they're missing the important things or maybe misrepresenting your company, saying things that, are bad in one way or the other. Let's jump into how to filter call logs and really what you're looking for. For me, what I do with call logs is, let's say at the end of the day, the end of the week, I'm going to have my team meeting with one of my teammates. The weekly meeting with one of my teammates is coming up. So I'm going to put in a whole week of call filters. Right here, communication type. I really only want to look for how actively are they outbound dialing. Maybe for my dispositions manager, how many people are they calling as opposed to how many people are calling in, or just texts. You can filter all of these things. I am going to just focus on calls and not text. So incoming or outgoing is okay. And I am going to focus on one of my sales guides here. Lastly, you can filter by specific campaigns. If you're really trying to look at what campaigns are performing and how they're performing and hearing calls from campaigns, you can zero it down that far niche if you want. I'm going to keep it a little bit more broad here and look at 1 week or one person. And what you're going to see is just a lot of really scrolling through to find the longer calls. An 11-second call is a dial and a hang up. I would really be looking for anything over at least a minute and a half. Even this 1 minute and 47 seconds. Could have been a don't ever call me back, or could have been a voicemail. But this is what I would do, is just scroll through and kind of see and spot check some of these conversations. Like, hey, here's a 7-minute call. I'm going to listen to this one. Right here is where you can download these. Again, if you want to save this for training, if you want to send this to another management or something else, you can download the file directly and get it outside of the CRM. Also, when you're listening back on things, you can speed things up to 1 or 2x if you want to listen fast. Listening on 1.5 speed is actually one of my favorite features of always in life. Other things to note about call logs. Other things to note about using the call logs for this type of filtering is it is just kind of a lot of scrolling and looking for those longer calls. But at the end of the day, I'm trying to make sure that my team is following our protocol, which is double dialing. So you will see a lot of people back to back in here, 2 very brief calls, went straight to voicemail or went to voicemail, and then we called right back. This is part of our protocol on our team. It does increase our call count, but it increases our connection rate with sellers. So do not be dissuaded by using more call credits from the system. It is 100% worth it. So here you go. You can see that I had 310 calls made, either inbound or outbound, by my acquisitions guy during this week's timeline. And as a manager, if I need to diagnose any specific calls, I will play them right in here live, or I will download them to play into my computer and to save to my computer another way. All right, I hope this is helpful on how to use some of these tools to be able to manage your team. Leave a comment below with one of the tools that you like to use most, and we'll talk to you on another video.